What's up everybody, and welcome back to the Mil-Sim Tac Shooter Historic Gaming channel and another episode of the Tactical Gaming Journal, where we are yet again diving into another Post-Scriptum armor overhaul dev blog. If you missed the one before, go ahead and check that out first probably, and then several weeks back we covered one on the handling and other miscellaneous systems like being able to peek out of the hatch instead of turn all the way out, new systems for entering and exiting vehicles, so definitely check those out if you haven't yet. But today we are going to be covering everything about the new shell mechanics and how with this new armor overhaul these in-game shells are going to act just like their real life counterparts. If you're new around here, we give away a Steam key every week. Right now we're giving away Beyond the Wire and Post-Scriptum game keys. So if that's something you want to try your hand on, just stay tuned and I'll give you details on exactly how to enter. So before we delve into these new armor systems shell mechanics, we're going to take a quick look at this new roadmap, just to get an idea of where we are in the development cycle. So coming real soon is going to be the new Chapter 2 map, the Maginot Line. Now I was lucky enough to test it a couple weeks back. I'd imagine there'll be a few more test cycles and then release. If you want to participate in these tests, head over to the official Post-Scriptum Discord and sign up to be a tester. You gotta sign an NDA of course, but do come participate. Give your feedback and help shape the future of the game. Next up is game modes. We'll be getting the long-awaited sandbox mode, and then a new objective-based game mode. My guess would be territories from Squad, but I could be wrong. And then, hopefully not too far from now, I would imagine sometime this year, we'll finally get that armor overhaul, really tying the game together, making the vehicle and armor gameplay as satisfying as the awesome infantry gameplay. After that is recon improvements, or Archon improvements, which is basically stuff for server owners, so they have more control over their server. And then big one, quality of life update. This is going to be for you guys with lower end systems, so you can stop crying. They're finally going to really focus in on optimization and the little quality of life stuff. And then finally, I doubt we'll see it this year, but that would be incredible, we'll get the Chapter 4 maps, vehicles, factions, all focusing in 1944 to 45, Battle of the Bulge, Bastogne, Foy, etc. Now, reading from their dev blog, they can be found on Steam or their Discord server. In this new system, we went back to the drawing board and redefined how we calculate armor penetration. In addition to the line of sight, or LOS penetration, we now also consider the angle at which you hit a plate. What this means is even if your shell is able to penetrate an angled plate, if the angle is too high, your shell can bounce off the armor. This makes considering the angle of your opponent's tank more important. Certain shells will also cause spalling when they penetrate an armor plate. This means that a single shot can damage and hurt multiple components, and the shell can even continue through the tank and out the other side. Another change is that shells no longer stop existing when they hit an object instead. The shell can bounce off surfaces, change direction, or even shatter based on what objects you hit in the world. The shell will only stop existing in the world if the shell shatters, if it has lost all its velocity, or if it travels for an unreasonable amount of time, like if you shot straight up or out of the level. We also have created several new subclasses of shells, each being designed accordingly to their real-life operation. We will quickly list the different types of shells and how they differ from each other. These are simply the damage types, and it does not reflect the difference between each shell type, such as APCR, APC-BC, and so on. First up is the AP shell. This is any shell that does not have any explosive filler, but instead a solid shell. This type of shell is commonly used by the Commonwealth Forces. APHE. This type of shell has an explosive filler within the shell, which is triggered by hitting objects or armor at a certain thickness. Once triggered, it will explode after a short period, which means that upon penetration, it will explode, doing a massive amount of damage to crew and internal components. HE, or high explosive. This type of shell will explode on impact and is used against external components, infantry, light vehicles, or fortifications. This is how us armor crews turn infantry into the legendary Red Mist. HEAT, or heat shells. This type of shell is typically used by infantry anti-tank rockets. It is capable of high penetration, but is easily countered by spaced or added-on armor. Shape charge. This isn't really a shell, but it is functionally identical to HEAT, except it's usually found in magnetic mines. That's right, folks. Not only the armor and vehicle systems are getting completely reworked, but how the infantry interacts and fights the armor is all going to change and be upgraded. Now, in case you're wondering, shells like APCR is still an AP type shell. It's great for penetrating flat armor, but not very good against anything that is sloped. We were also able to make functional add-on armor to tanks. Stuff such as side skirts, track links, and other objects attached to a tank can provide slight additional protection, and is even capable of being blown off the tank. This will prove to be particularly useful for dealing with infantry anti-tank weapons such as a bazooka or a Panzerschreck. And now on to the new component damage system. To start off, we have gone through and split our components into external and internal components, and each of these components can be considered a vital or non-vital component. The internal and external classification allows us to designate how and when a component can be damaged. Certain components like tracks, side skirts, or objects on the tank can be damaged without needing to penetrate the armor of the tank. Internal components will require a shell penetration before they will start taking damage. What the vital and non-vital classification means is that we can determine the value of one component over another. Obviously, a periscope doesn't have the same value to the crew as the engine or main gun, and as such, we can tell the system which systems are or aren't critical for vehicle functionality. The damage system was also overhauled in such a way that when a certain amount of components are destroyed, the tank will be considered knocked out, and this means the tank can no longer be repaired, forcing the crew to abandon their tank. When a component is damaged, it will have an effect on the performance of the tank itself. If the transmission is damaged, you will not be able to use all your gears, and as such, your top speed suffers. A transmission destroyed will cause the vehicle to be immobilized. Certain components like ammo, fuel tanks, and engines can start a fire if penetrated. This fire will need to be put out by the crew using a fire extinguisher from their inventory. Failure to extinguish the fire will result in the fire spreading, damaging nearby components, and eventually causing the tank to burn down. Now we're going to go over and list every vital component and every non-vital component, starting with the engine. The engine component is one of the two components primarily required to drive the tank. The engine, when damaged, will lower the amount of throttle available, thus limiting the power output of your tank until repaired. If destroyed, the tank can no longer move. This component has a small chance of starting a fire when damaged by a shell. Keep in mind that engines have a high armor value, and shooting the engine may not penetrate into the fighting compartment of an enemy vehicle. Fuel tanks. This component will be the primary source of any tank fire. Penetration of the fuel tanks will bear with it a high risk of fire starting. A fire in the fuel tank, if not put out, will very quickly spread to other parts of the tank and damage the tank, eventually leading to the tank burning down. But fuel quantity is not simulated, and tanks will not run out of fuel with damaged fuel tanks. Transmission. The transmission component, like the engine component, is the other component primarily required to drive the tank. When the component is damaged, it will limit the gears available to drive, and eventually the tank becomes immobilized. Like the engine, this component has a high armor value, and thus shooting the transmission may not result in penetration into the fighting compartment. Ammo stowage. This component represents the ammo stored inside the tank. When this component is hit, there is a high chance of either a fire or instant explosion causing the tank to be destroyed. However, unlike other components, this component can be emptied as the crew fires shells and ammo stowage is progressively emptied, which lowers the chance of an explosion or fire. Turret ring. The turret ring component, when damaged, will turn slower. When fully destroyed, it will no longer turn the turret. Cannon barrel or breech. This component represents the cannon and breech inside the tank. This component can be destroyed by shooting the barrel or breech inside the turret. Damaging the cannon will slow the elevation speed, and a fully destroyed cannon will no longer elevate or fire. Now for the non-vital components, starting with periscopes. The periscopes can all be damaged and will become cracked when damaged. However, they will not count towards any vital component knockout. And then finally, tracks. The track component is special. Unlike the other vital components, it is both a vital and non-vital component, depending on some conditions. If the tracks on one side of the tank are destroyed, this component is only considered a non-vital component. But if both tracks are taken out, it will be considered a vital component knockout. The crew are also considered as components, and internal crew can be hurt and wounded by a penetrating hit, fire, or spalling as a result of penetration. This new component system means that we are able to simulate tank combat much more in depth and offer more nuance to combat in tanks. This devlog marks the completion of all major modules for the armor overhaul, and from here on, its primary focus is on bug fixing, balancing, and tweaking tanks to get them just right. The devs over at Periscope Games will be live this week, Thursday, August 12th, at 11:30 p.m. Central European Summertime, 2:30 p.m. U.S. Pacific, and 5:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. They will be showing off the new armor overhaul during their official Tea Time with the Devs live stream. Try to show up as they show off the work they've been doing for the past several months. And they will also be answering questions from you, the community. This all happens over at the official Post-Scriptum Twitch channel. Alright guys, let's wrap this video up. I hope you guys are as excited for the future as Post-Scriptum as I am. Share this milsim genre with your friends. We gotta grow this genre. Don't forget, we're giving away Beyond the Wire and Post-Scriptum Steam keys. Tell your friends. Don't be greedy. And if you want a leg up in every week's Steam key giveaway, consider becoming a channel member. Hit the blue join button below, or the Patreon link in the description. Become a Mil-Simp Minion, get exclusive content, emojis, Mil-Sim training, etc, etc. And in every week's Steam Key giveaway, you get double the entries. For as little as 99 cents a month, you'll be supporting my channel, and at the same time, bettering your odds at every week's giveaway. I want to give a special thanks to all my current channel members, the Mil-Simp Minions. Because of them, I'm one step closer to my dream, and that's playing these games for a freaking living. I know it's a long way from there, but pretty soon it could be a legit side job at least, and I'll take that. Lord knows I need the money. Alright, for all you new guys that are interested in entering the giveaway, all you gotta do is like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, join our little Discord community, it's linked below, Boogie5 Gaming Etc. Discord channel, and drop a comment. Say whatever you want in the comment, but leave your Discord name and number. That's gonna work as your ticket stub in case you do win. Now remember, I'm not gonna come track you down. You have to actually watch the videos if you want to win. This week's winner will be announced randomly in a video towards the end of the week. Alright guys, be sure to check out my Post-Scriptum Guides playlist. Don't miss it. Y'all be good to each other.